All right, good evening and welcome to the March 26th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We are missing one commissioner tonight. However, we have plenty of people for a quorum, so we're moving forward. As a reminder for commenting, I'll call on each of you in turn, and also that all votes are done by roll call, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public attendees, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If, as an attendee, you'd like to participate in a particular hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, you will be promoted into the hearing as a participant. When you are selected, you must have your video enabled. Be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. A positive determination means the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you actually want to hear us say something negative. And let's see. First up, vote minutes, March 5th, 2025. Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes. Patton.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted for March 5th. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney. Courtney?
Court.
You
Give me a
muted.
thumbs up.
He said bird eye, but
I can work with that. Matthews,
Yeah.
aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have accepted the minutes of March 5th. Next up is the vote minutes of March 12th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes as written. Pending comments this evening. Patton.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of March 12th as submitted. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of March 12th. Thank you, Kristen. Next, request for continuance for a determination of applicability. First up, Patrick Burke, 158 Church Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reinstall mitigation plantings in accordance with Mass DEP number 25-4051. Alyssa?
The applicant has requested a continuance until April 23rd.
So move, Patton.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a reluctant second to continue this till 4:23. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 23rd. Next up, request for continuance under a notice of intent. First up, Susan Garland, 42 Chase Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove approximately 7,100 square feet of common reed, Phragmites australis. I probably said that wrong. Betsy's going to slap my hand. Jen.
You did pretty well, Mr. Chairman, and the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 16th.
Bird so moved.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until April 15th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
I'm not gonna give you a hard time, Jamie, but I'm gonna vote aye. Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 15th. Next up is John and Lisa Almquist, 43 Neves Way, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct a dock. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 30th.
Bird so moved.
Patton second.
we have a motion and a second to continue this until April 30th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 30. Next up, oh, this isn't familiar, is it? Wayne Van Wart, the Seashell Lane Community Association, Inc. 0 Davisville Road, map and parcel ID is 40-11-013-000, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct and enlarge an existing licensed community dock system. Jen,
Yes,
for
Mr.
the 17th time, what are we looking at?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until May 14th. There were some issues with the community, the parcel that the community dock is on. The applicant's representatives have been working pretty diligently to get the issues resolved, both with conservation and now planning is involved. So it is a little bit complicated and we are working through it. Just taking a bit.
All right. So, okay, so I need a motion to that effect.
Bird so moved to continue it to, what's the date?
May
5/14.
14th.
To the.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till May 14th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until May 14th. Next up is a request for a continuance under an enforcement order. 58 Westwood Road, LLC, care of Robert Martin, 58 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a shed and removal of vegetation within the buffer to a coastal bank and coastal dune. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property owner is requesting a continuance until April 30th.
Bird so move, and the reason?
They're still getting quotes for the restoration.
Okay. So Bird,
Gladfelter, second.
we have a motion and a second to continue this until April 30th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 30th. Wow, that was a lot of continuances.
Yes.
All right, next up are requests for determination of applicability. First up, Thomas Setterman, 48 Beach Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition and expand an existing deck. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird so move, and this floodplain, is that what this is?
Primarily, yes.
Okay.
Patton second.
thank you. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Martha Bennett, 15 Kerry Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconfigure existing hardscape. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up has been previously continued, brings us to Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, 131 Walkpoint Highway, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace an existing fence. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Amy White, 390 Acapasket Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove vegetation growing within an existing stone revetment. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Scott McHale, 210 Walker Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition, remove an existing sewage disposal system, and install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Paul Duffy, 20 Salt Pond Road, Falmouth, Mass. For after-the-fact permission to reconfigure a dock structure in Sitter's Pond. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Michael O'Connor, 127 Lake Shore Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct an existing sunroom. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, William Flynn, 407 Mara Vista Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct 3 dormers on an existing single-family dwelling. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Van aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Brian Foley, Clancy Construction, 369 Walker Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, and rebuild a single-family dwelling. Alyssa.
Staff recommends the -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
And we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you to the staff for all their work on those. Next up are requests for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes, so I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Dennis and Adrian Ocon, 21 Fairview Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with a covered porch, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system to Title V requirements, and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Tim Santos from Merrill Engineering to present his project. Tim, anybody else on this one?
Yeah, do you mind promoting Tom Lee, please?
Mr. Lee is being promoted as a panelist. And Tom is in.
Yes, he is.
Mr. Santos, you're up, sir.
Okay. Good evening. For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. Along with me this evening, Tom Lee from TL Studio, who prepared the landscape design. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Assuming everybody can see that.
Yes.
Okay. Property is located at 21 Far View Lane in East Falmouth. Currently developing an existing single-family home and shed. Resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property are land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, salt marsh to the rear of the property. There is a coastal bank, man-made coastal bank, the stone retaining wall that is not labeled on the plan, but it was brought up during staff report, and I will get that onto the plan. And the entire property is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. The applicant's before you tonight looking to demolish the existing home and construct a new home as shown on the proposed plan. We're moving it further away from the edge of the salt marsh and the water's edge. All roof runoff will be diverted to dry wells. We are proposing to install a new Title V compliant septic system. As part of the redevelopment of the property, there is an increase of 1,074 square feet of impervious area. So we'll be mitigating with 3,223 square feet of mitigation plantings, as well as some seeded trees. Tom has prepared a landscape plan that I will let him talk about in a second. But I just wanted to say that we did receive the staff report. I did go back and forth with Jen with some comments on it. They're all kind of minor, and I'll revise our plan to show the coastal bank setback. It does not affect any of the buffer zone calculations, but we will get it on there for you. There was a question in regard to where the cesspool was located. It's located to the east of the existing house in this area here, and we will show that on the plan and add a note to be abandoned. The owner just let me know that information. There was also a note that there was some vessels being stored in the marsh. The owner has let the neighbor know that they need to be removed, so those will be removed. I've let the owner know any further cutting or any cutting that's done needs a permit, so there'll be no more cutting of vegetation without a permit. And there were two minor notes in regard to kind of this edge of vegetation note here we'll remove, as well as one of the notes in the proposed planting mitigation. I think it was this note right here: plants to be maintained in good health and replaced as needed for 3 growing seasons. So we'll remove that from our mitigation plan notes. Besides that, I think there are 2 minor comments on the landscape plan. So I'll turn that over to Tom so he can run through the landscape plan quick, and then we can address any questions you might have.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, do you mind bringing up the plan?
Yeah, not a problem though.
Thanks. This plan basically follows the delineation of the mitigation planting areas by Tim, and just further breaks it down and provides plant counts and species. It's all listed in the plant list. Plethora, 2 species of native roses, arrowwoods, some bayberry, and some cedar trees. I know the comment about was that there were too many or proportionally too much of the 2 rose species, up to about 50%, and rather have it 1/5. So I think 243 total plants. So basically, you rather have 50 roses, and then yeah, and we're willing to do that and increase the number of the other species. Other than that, I realized another comment was to make sure the lawn comes up to the edge of the building and not have that white, which was intended as a gravel strip. That's all it was for ease of maintenance, so you don't mow against the building. But we will take that out. And I think that's it. That's basically it.
Right. And Tim, thank you for correcting me on the road, Farview.
I've called it Fairview many times.
Yeah, what can I tell you? All right, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for addressing the comments. Tom, I think if you're agreeable to that, then we can just condition a revised plan so we don't have to have a continuance on this one. And I appreciate you agreeing to those revisions.
Of course.
Does that work with you, Tim?
Yeah, that works with me. I can get you a revised plan in the next couple of days as well. So they're all little
Lisa-
minor comments.
Lisa, you good with that one? Okay, perfect. All set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Alyssa.
No comments, thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments or questions? Betsy.
Just a comment, nice clean presentation. It'll be nice to have, it's a nice little cottage that's there. It'll be a bigger cottage, but still modest for the
cottage.
size. But it's still a cottage.
Cool spot.
That's all.
All right, Courtney.
I have no comments other than to agree with Betsy. Well done, thank you.
All right, I'll give it the trifecta on the presentation, short and sweet, the way I like it. Kevin.
No comments other than to repeat your comment.
Ron.
All set, thanks.
All right, Steve.
Oops.
Can't wait to see the construction here. It'll be a very interesting project. It's families own that property for a long time. I'm sure they've planned this for decades. So good luck with all of it.
Oh, good. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll put a motion on the table to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Driscoll
Bird,
second.
second.
Ooh,
Ooh,
we have a motion and competition for the second. I like that. All right. Last call, questions or comments? We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, next up.
Thank you. Good night, Tom.
Yes.
I have the next one, Jen.
I know you do, Tim. I got you.
Thank you.
Next up, 457 Wild Harbor Road Realty Trust, 457 Wild Harbor Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise RAZE an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, terraces, and pool, and upgrade the existing sewage disposal system to Title V requirements. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we still have Tim Santos with us, and Tim, I have promoted the landscape architect. Help me with the last name,
Sean Papich.
Sean Papich from Sean Papich Landscape Architecture. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
All right, Mr. Santos, you're up again, sir.
Good evening again. For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. Along with me this evening is Sean Papich from Sean Papich Landscape Architecture. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, the property is located at 457 Wild Harbor Road. Currently developed with an existing single-family home, decking, gravel driveway, landscape areas and lawn. The resource areas on or within 150 feet of the property are land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, a coastal beach, coastal bank along the rear, and then a portion of the property is located in a land subject to coastal storm flowage. The property has recently been purchased by the applicant, and they're looking to tear the house down and move it further back out of the buffer zone. So as shown on the plan here, we're taking the house that's currently located where our proposed pool is. We're moving it outside of jurisdiction. And in reality, there's only a really small portion of new structure within your buffer zone in the outer 50 to 100 foot buffer zone. As far as the house goes, all the roof runoff will be contained by dry well. We're proposing a new Title V septic system well away from the resource areas. We did provide some redevelopment calcs. It's actually a reduction of 1,800 square feet of impervious surfaces within your buffer zones. We have prepared a landscape plan that I can pop up for Sean, or Sean can pop up in a second. We can kind of review the landscaping and the proposed native plantings we're proposing. We are also proposing to rebuild the set of steps down to the bank for safety reasons. Staff did provide a staff report. I have reviewed it with them. Again, I believe these are all minor little comments. We can revise the plans, get them to you, and hopefully we can close the hearing tonight. One of the comments was to narrow this mowed path down to 4 feet, which we will adjust. I'll let Sean address the landscape comments. Again, the property owner has just recently purchased the property, so they have not done any cutting on this property, but I've made them aware that no cutting within the buffer zone is allowed without this board's permission. And there was one comment by staff in regard to the crushed stone below the steps. Typically, when we set these steps on the bank, when we're reconstructing them, we do put crushed stone beneath in order to level out the steps and allow them to set in place. So those are my comments, my quick presentation. Sean, do you want me to pull up your plan, or do you want to pull it up?
Sure, that'd be great, Tim. I appreciate that. There you go.
So this one's got a little bit more color on it. Again, as Tim noted, we are bringing the house back. So if you see a little light outline of the deck to the left of the pool, we are taking the house back about 73 feet, give or take a few inches, further away from the resource. The proposed pool area is also actually back of that deck, existing deck. So we were really trying to push this house as far back on the property as we could for the most part, as well as the use area. Folks that had bought the property, the Glicklicks, they love their plantings, they love their outdoor use areas, and that was really a pretty strong focus of what we did and when we were working on this project with them. So again, most of those are even outside the 100-foot buffer. The bulk of the pool area is outside of that, to the east of it, I'd say. One of the things we did is we left a stone wall, kind of curvilinear stone wall that's existing there today, that sits right about the 50-foot buffer, kind of goes back and forth off of the 50-foot buffer. We left that in place as it is and proposed to plant native plantings in front of it. A fairly substantial amount of robust planting, utilizing all the usual suspects you might see: the switchgrass, Virginia rose, low bush blueberry, little blue stem, asters, as well as some cedars. We are proposing some white oaks to be planted, because we are proposing some removal of a white oak that's just inside the 50-foot buffer and one that is outside the 50-foot buffer. We are proposing to add 2 white oaks, and we have several cedars we're also proposing to plant on the property inside. 50 to 100-foot buffer. One of the white oaks is proposed to be inside the 50-foot buffer also. Also, we have a fairly robust planting plan for the rest of the property and the rest of the house site that's beyond your jurisdiction. In terms of the stairs that are proposed to be replaced, yes, as Tim described, those stairs that are out there right now are just very dangerous. The homeowners are really concerned about them, and so it felt like it made sense to replace in kind with some granite steps, some stone steps, reutilizing some of the boulders that are out there today, to help protect with the erosion. Again, we did hear you on that pathway to the water, so that can be narrowed completely to 4 feet, and that's not a problem whatsoever. That's, I guess, the general rundown on the landscape plan. If you have any questions, we'd like to talk about it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, did one of you address the no-mow area that we had commented on in the staff report?
Yeah, you had commented on that, Jen, and one of the things that at least I wanted to ask you, we do like to utilize seed mix of native forbs and grasses in some of these areas because we feel like we get really good quick coverage, and we think it's actually sometimes just as appropriate to have the grasses because we think that it helps control the erosion even more so than the woody plants. So we wanted to have a discussion at least with you about that and see how you feel about it, and perhaps how the board, the commission feels about it. One of the things that we like to see is native grasses and forbs that really will hold the soil. And the intent is to utilize those in that area and then just mow that 4-foot path to get to the water. That way we have some stable soil conditions, which is mostly sand. Right now it's a bit barren out there, but thought we would see if we could at least have a discussion about it.
Okay. Alyssa, was that area cleared?
Based on aerial photos, it was vegetated in the past.
Okay, so it was cleared without a permit in that 50-foot buffer, Sean.
Okay.
So I'm kind of concerned with the note that we say no mow, and then we go on to say no mow meadow area, but then we're gonna be mowing seasonally to maintain encroachment of woody plants. So if you have your base and it's stable, why wouldn't you want those woody plants to come in?
Well, we could still utilize some of the woody plants, so we don't have a problem with utilizing some of them. We just feel like that as long as we have some seed mix or some grass base, that we like that for the protection of any sort of erosion.
So, no, I understand that, but I know the board will have to decide if they want that area because it was cleared unfortunately, without a permit. If they want to see more woody shrubs in there, over your grass, over your meadow area, because I mean, it basically states you'll be mowing it seasonally to keep those shrubs out of that area.
Then that was not intended to do that. That was it would be more for any of the woody invasives that we find, as well as the pathway itself. We wanted to leave a clear pathway. So that was probably a mistake in terms of how it was described.
Okay, I mean, I don't mind the path being mowed, but the area outside of the path, we don't want mowed.
Okay.
And might want some more woody plants in there. And the only other comment I have, Sean, is the use of the switchgrass. We've seen it become very, very aggressive in other projects.
Okay.
How do you propose either maintaining the switchgrass or keeping it from just overtaking everything else? Or is there another species you can use in place of the switchgrass, at least in our area? If you want it up around the house in the pool area, I'm fine with that. But we have seen it become very, very aggressive in some of our restoration projects.
Well, we could go to Dischampsia, one of the tufted hair grasses, utilize that. Probably wouldn't be quite as aggressive. We could also use one of the other grasses. We are utilizing little blue stem. We could do that also. I mean, switchgrass is certainly one of the most predominant native grasses in the country as well, but so is again is little blue stem. But if you're finding that it's problematic in some of these areas, then we could certainly switch up the variety or the cultivar, or excuse me, the genus.
I think we would be a little bit more comfortable with that. We've had a couple of projects where it's been kind of aggressive and has outcompeted, little shrubs trying to come in.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Melissa.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. We're going to start with Courtney.
I have no comments actually, other than the echo Jen's concerns about the switch glass. Other than that, it's well thought out.
Yep. All right. Good project. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ron.
I agree. Good project. Moving a house way back from the resource.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. That's all.
Can you tell all your friends that you did that?
Well, honestly,
if it catches on.
We should probably have them meet the homeowners, because that was really a really important piece for them to have this set back a little ways and have some enjoyable outdoor space,
Yeah, it's nice. All right, Steve.
Very nice. Steve, you're muted.
Mute. Steve, you're muted.
I'm sorry. You could have said they wanted to be conservationists and move the house back, but very nice project, wonderful property.
Yeah.
The plan, I can't see what the house looks like, but the layout looks beautiful.
Oh, the house is beautiful. Yeah, I wish we had a picture of that for you. Beautiful. Beautiful scale too.
All right. Betsy.
Tim, you're batting 2 for 2 tonight. It's another nice presentation. Thanks, Sean, for working with them.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function. Do you want us to condition the plan, Sean, or do you want to send us a revised plan? Do you want a continuance to show us a revised plan? What would you like us to do?
Is it just condition? We're going to send a revised plan, so that wouldn't We can do that.
Okay, so kind of, address the switchgrass.
Yep.
And then take the mow label out of the red sections. I don't know if it was Tim highlighting.
I drew them in there. I just
Okay.
sketched it and just
Highlight that
talking
and then
about.
maybe pop a few shrubs in there because unfortunately for your clients that area was cleared without a permit.
Yeah, I don't think
so-
they knew about that. I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah. They were
So if
shocked.
you could do that, we can close this hearing and just submit the revised plan if that works for you,
That
gentlemen.
makes sense.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'll
Perfect.
make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Fiscal second.
For,
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call, questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Fiscal eye.
Steve. Give me a thumbs up.
Pat and I.
Got it. Thank you. It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. It's good to see
You too.
everybody.
Next up, Jeffrey Unger, 86 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a fiber roll array, construct a staircase, maintain a vista corridor, and install restoration plantings. Jen.
I am promoting Mike Borselli. And I just saw Jen. Oh, and Jen, I believe Jen Crawford. Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, Jen Crawford Land Management to present their project. And they are coming in.
All right. Mike's playing hard to get. There he is. All right, Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, for the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Jen Crawford from Crawford Land Management. We represent the applicant Jeffrey Unger, who has a property at 86 Eel River Road. And with your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm sharing with you the site plan prepared by my office, and it shows the lot. The lot has frontage on a water body named Eel Pond. The wetland resources include land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. There are two small sections of salt marsh. There's an eroding escarpment here where the shaded tan color is. And there's a very low profile coastal bank here, the top of which is right at the very edge of this tan color. And the no disturbance zone A from the salt marsh is shown here. The property has typical features of a residence with a driveway, landscape, grass areas. It has a path to the water, and it had a stairway that was not permitted that we had noted as remove an unpermitted timber stairs and reconstruct after the fiber roll array is constructed. That stairway has in fact been removed, and I've been told by the owner that there was unpermitted walkway sections on the path that he also removed. The project in primary purpose for the application is to try to mitigate the erosion that's occurring at the low profile coastal bank. We teamed up with Crawford Land Management and they designed a fiber roll array that I will share with you in a minute. And they also proposed some restoration of the buffer zone, which I'm noting on this plan, but the details of which are on their plan. We did receive a staff report, and there are some items within the staff report that are minor and easily addressable, and there's a couple other ones that we probably should meet with staff to get a little bit more guidance so that we can revise the plan. So we will be asking for a continuance so that we can accomplish that. But I will would like to finish the presentation and then take questions and hear your comments and then ask for the continuance. Jen, are you going to share your screen and show your plan?
Mike, if you have them right after yours, you might as well just bring it up. Otherwise, I am prepared to share if I need to. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I have it. I have it here.
Perfect.
I'm going to turn it over to Jen at this point.
I'll try to keep it brief. It's a fairly simple proposal from our end of things right now. As Mike said, the very low profile coastal bank, you can see that there is a root mat that is kind of overhanging, and in the area where the path comes down, where the stairs that they removed were, you can probably reach underneath that root mat 3 or 4 feet, maybe even more in parts of it, and there's just no sediment underneath it. It's just kind of hanging over the edge, so to speak. So much of what is hanging over the edge is just dead, and you can see evidence of smaller trees that have fallen due to being undermined in that condition along the shore. So this proposes to simply restabilize that low profile coastal bank using 3 to 4 fiber rolls, depending on the area that they are in. They simply tie back into on the western side property line. They simply tie back and die back into grade. And they end on the eastern side, shy of the property line. That's really the fiber roll installation portion of it. We have proposed some nourishment over the top and some planting. It requires very, very little sediment, but as good practice to keep those fiber rolls covered and to try and get them vegetated. In terms of the naturalized area, which is pretty much everything from the house to the water, we really didn't see any incursions of invasive species. The area is very well vegetated, albeit having been pruned in the past, and I believe that will that we can talk a little bit more about that as I get through this. But in terms of the vegetation content of the area, it's pretty densely vegetated. It's all native. It has a ton of native tree species, native shrub species, everything from scrub oak, bayberry, chokeberry, various oak species, viburnum, huckleberry. So from a plant community standpoint, it is very complete in its species diversity and in its relative density. One thing that we have proposed with this filing is to put on record an actual Vista corridor, and to do some work within that Vista corridor to either restore some of the trees that are there as single stem trees, and those are specifically noted on our plan, or if they are in such a shape as they cannot be restored, to replace them with native shrubs. We understand and respect the fact that your regulations allow for vistas, but do not allow for them to be completely clear of trees. So we have tried to be respectful of that, as well as work with the existing species that are already there. One of the other things that, and I should say everything then outside that Vista window, we've called on our plans for it to be allowed to renaturalize on its own. It's all of the species are there. They just need to be left alone. So that's exactly what our plan calls for. And then in terms of the access path that goes down to the water, it is wider than what your regulations allow for. So we have proposed to narrow that to 4 feet as is allowed. And I think with that, I will conclude my portion of the presentation as, going over what is proposed currently in our plans.
Thanks, Jen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just to circle back on a couple things in the staff report, and just so you're aware, we understand the staff report comments, and one of them was pretty simple and straightforward. We didn't actually show the top of the bank. And we didn't show the A and B zones from it, so we will add those to the plan. There was a comment about some a fence and some artificial turf that are in the buffer, and we need to verify that and talk about how to address that with your staff. There was a generator installed, and I think that's okay to remain because it's only on land subject to the coastal storm flowage, and there's a comment that that can be allowed approved after the fact. The Vista corridor is on this plan. There was a request to put it on our plan as well. And then the final thing that's probably the most important is, and some of you may remember, because I know of at least 2 of you that were on the commission in 2012. A previous property owner, not the current property owner, but a previous property owner had cut some trees without permission, and we actually submitted a restoration plan, and there was an order of conditions issued for that, and it appears that he never proceeded with the restoration under that order of conditions. So what we're hoping to do is go through that with your staff and combine that with this application. This application shows restoration of the buffer, but it's not in sync with what the 2012 plan did. So we'd like to sort of dovetail them together and hopefully be able to come back with a plan that merges both plans in a way that's acceptable to you. We would hopefully make sure it's acceptable to your staff, because if it is, it's a lot easier to convince you that it's acceptable, and deal with that issue at a continued hearing. I think that sums up the presentation. We'd love to hear from you, and then we're going to request a continuance till April 16th.
All right. Jen.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jen. I think some of the items that Mike touched on, we can, we'll talk with them, especially about the artificial turf in your buffer zone. I think we can work with Jen on the Vista corridor. I think the most important thing, though, is this outstanding enforcement matter. As Jen says, property is full of natives. It's dense, it's healthy. Unfortunately, she was very polite when she said it was being pruned. It is being heavily managed, and trees don't grow to the heights that they are currently on the site. They grow much larger. So this property has been historically, at least since 2012, managed. So this has been a continuous violation. Staff would recommend that be addressed before any additional work on the property take place, including the installation of the core fiber loaves. So we are prepared to meet with Mike and Jen and talk about kind of the history of the property and ways to move forward. Because as Jen said, there's not a lot, there's like hardly any invasives out there, Jen, correct? Like
Yeah,
really
it was
nothing. It's just those trees are just being managed.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have to find a way for them to either be replaced or
managed differently.
Managed in a way that they can actually become a healthy tree again.
Yep, understood. And Jen or Alyssa, if I haven't seen a copy of the old restoration plan that was approved, and that would be super helpful for me to get a better understanding of the history of the property and what was desired at that time.
And I think it's even worse than it was back then. So we'll meet with both of you and go over all that.
That would be great and very helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, they just received the staff report the other day. So I think a continuance is warranted.
Okay.
That's all we have right now.
All right. Alyssa.
Jen, I'll send that over tomorrow for you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Of course. Thanks. That's all I have.
All right. I like the overall plan. I think you guys did a great job with especially with the Vista. I like how it's defined. I like the path being included. I like the fact that you guys appear to be wanting to correct everything and get it all going forward. So I think that's all a good thing. So hopefully we can all work together and get it better, let's just say. All right, Kevin.
No further comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ron.
I have a question. How are you going to access the water? I know there's a path, but you're going to go right over the new installation, or is it stairs going to be replaced, or how are you going to access the water?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to address on the plan. My plan did say, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen again.
Sure.
My plan, and I'll zoom in on it, suggested that the stairs would be removed for the installation of the fiber roll array, and then they would build over the fiber roll array and then back down to the beach. They've been removed.
Right.
So after the fiber roll array were to be built, we'd build these stairs back over. There'd be a platform at the top, and then stairs down over the fiber roll array. So,
Okay.
Because you're right, there is no way to get down to the beach if the fiber roll array is in place, because it's difficult to traverse that something like this. The stairs would be up here, and then they'd come back down over that.
Okay.
Leading up here and then stairs down.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope that answers your question.
All right, Ron, you're good?
I'm good. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, Steve?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Betsy?
I have one comment. I was here in 2012, and this was deja vu all over again when I went out to this site. This was an egregious violation that I hope Jen and Mike can work with staff to address. The other question I had was, Mike, where you have the path and you say something about wooden platforms or wooden walkway.
Yes.
On your plan, isn't that a brick pathway? Looked like there was brick underneath that.
I don't.
Permitted.
Do you know, Jen?
I don't. When I saw it, it was the the little roll up boardwalks that you show on your plan. I didn't notice any, but clearly we have to go back out on site so we can take another look. But I didn't notice any when I was there.
Well, there were no wooden walks when I went. But
They
Yeah, they
removed
picked those up.
But it was like a brick pathway with moss growing up. You know how you get moss on a pathway that kind of looks old?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll take a look when we're out there, Betsy. Like I said, I saw it when the wooden boardwalks before they had been rolled up, and I didn't really notice anything, but we'll look.
23.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and Jen and Alyssa are going to give you the original plans. But I don't know what was originally there, but this brick walkway clearly has been there for a long time. But I don't know if it was permitted.
2012.
It wasn't? No, I'm just saying, looking at the conditions of it now. That's all I had.
All
Jamie?
right. Courtney?
I'll hold my fire till I see the revised plan.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
See, that always scares me because that means there's something big coming up.
There is.
Oh, there's nothing now, but wait till next time. All right, never mind. All right. Mr. Bocelli, you have a request for us, correct?
Yes, I'd request a continuance to April 16th.
Thank you.
At the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this till April 16th.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until April 16th. Last call, questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Van Nuy.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 16. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
Good
thank
night,
you.
Jen.
Alyssa, maybe we can find a time to meet on site next week. I'd like to meet sooner rather than later so that we have appropriate time to
Right.
come up with a game plan and get plans submitted. So,
Yeah, absolutely. That works.
okay, sounds good. Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right, next up, Donald and Nancy Colleran, 11 Forster Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a fiber roll array and conduct beach nourishment. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering is still with us to present this project. Mike, there's no one else in this project team, correct?
Nope,
Nope,
just
you.
me. You stuck with me.
Mike, long time no see.
Yes, it's fiber roll array night, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, for the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering. I represent the applicant, Dawn and Nancy Colleran. And with your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
The Collerans own the property at 11 Foster Road. It has water frontage on Vineyard Sound. Wetland resources include land under the ocean. There's a coastal beach. There is a revetment that crosses the majority of the frontage. There's an access stairway down to the beach, and then there's an eroded section that was not a revetment. Some years ago, I believe in 2018 or so, you issued an order of conditions that allowed what I believe was an old timber wall to be replaced with riprap. I believe BSS Design did that original plan, but they had wanted to build the stone revetment on this side too, but since there hadn't been anything there, that was not allowed. So they back then proposed a fiber roll array in 2018. I believe it was not this winter, but the winter before in December, we had some pretty severe storms from the east-southeast, and the fiber roll array was eroded away. And we're back today to try to reestablish the fiber roll array again, and hope that we don't get any of those storms, and that it'll hold up better. So I've shown the location of the fiber roll array. I've shown a cross section. It will be installed and then veneered with sand compatible with the sand on the beach. It'll be planted over the top with American beach grass and stabilized as best it can be against the forces of Mother Nature without an actual coastal engineering structure. And I hope that it's successful, but as part of that application, as I said, we're proposing to add sand over the top. We estimate the volume of sand to be 50 cubic yards. Access will be over a lawn area as shown on the plan. And pretty much sums up the construction activities. The staff provided us with a report yesterday that we reviewed, and for the most part, they're pretty straightforward. There are some comments about the fact that I guess this, I'll zoom in a little bit, this patio area here, I believe they were referring to, was enlarged sometime in 2019 or 2020. There was, I looked at the aerial photos prior to that, and there was something here that appears as though it may have grown a little bit. So we're going to have to compare and contrast the plan from 2018 to this, and that will likely require some minor amount of mitigation planting. Evidently this shed was reconfigured, so we have to see if that changed in a way that it got bigger, because it's very likely going to be in it could be within the buffer to the top of the coastal bank. There again, for whatever reason, I don't show the top of the coastal bank on this plan, even though it's low profile, but it is a coastal bank. I think I was asleep that day. Or maybe it was just forest through the trees. I was so focused on the erosion, I didn't even consider it being a coastal bank, but it certainly is. So we're going to add that and show I guess it'll be since this is eroding, it'll be, and it's in a velocity zone, it'll be a 75-foot A zone and a 25-foot B zone. So this shed may fall in that. Otherwise, it's in land subject to coastal storm flowage. But we can sort that out, and if we need to do some mitigation planting, there's an opportunity to do it in a lawn area, and we can work out the area calculations and submit a revised plan. There was another comment about showing all trees on the lot. The lot is pretty much lawn, house, and driveway. We show some trees here. I'll have to walk around an inventory and see if I missed a few. I'm happy to add the other trees as requested in the staff report. And evidently there's some steps off the eastern deck. So I'm assuming since east is this direction, maybe you mean this small deck, or I'm not sure.
Yes, that one.
This one? Okay. So we can look at that and add the steps there. And if that's more impervious, it'd be minor. We can also add that to the mitigation. And finally, there was a comment about the sand that's proposed over the fiber roll array, estimated at 50 cubic yards. We were proposing it as a one-time only. There's no plan in this application to do any ongoing beach nourishment. If this will be monitored, and any future requirement for sand to keep the fiber rolls covered would either come back as an amendment to this, or an RDA, whatever is appropriate to keep the fiber roll array covered, which is the goal. So I guess this probably rises to the level of needing a continuance too, but maybe not. I defer to you on that. But if it does need a continuance, I'm happy to request one, and I'm certainly happy to go over this and take more questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Jen.
Yes, no, Mike, we'll need a continuance on this. As far as the sand goes, Mike, that was pretty deep scarp. So 50 cubic yards is what, like 2 dump trucks? Like
pretty much.
220?
Yep.
We may want to possibly condition it so in case there is a big storm event after you install this and all that sand gets washed away, you don't have to come back for an RDA, but we can talk about that before the continuance.
Okay.
Like maybe up to 50 cubic yards after a major storm event with, documentation, something like that, just so you're not coming back to us.
Well, that'd be great if we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that next week while you're buttoning up the plan.
Okay.
Okay. I'd rather just give you that flexibility than having you file an RDA or an amendment or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Since you have a
appreciate
3-year permit anyway.
Okay.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Alyssa.
Just a clarifying note from Mike. I seem to have gotten more specific as the staff report read on, but the first side deck I was mentioning is the one off the garage, not the pavers. So just north of that, just for reference.
Okay. When we meet, I'll go over the particulars and we can work that out.
Sure thing. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Ron.
I'm all set. Thanks. Nice job, Mike. Good luck with all the calculations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Steve.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Betsy.
This is another deja vu all over again.
Not with me, though.
Not with you.
Bob-
Well, not with you, but don't I remember this site? Yeah,
Probably.
Foster Road gets hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
it looks like a giant took a
Yeah.
big bite out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of scary.
Good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
That's all, Jamie.
Thank you. Courtney.
No comments.
All right. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function for this project?
Nothing in the public chat for this project, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, Jen, we're thinking we need a continuance.
Yep. How long do you need, Mike?
I was hoping for April 16th. I think I can get you things by the 9th.
Okay.
At the request of the applicant, I make a motion to continue this till April 16th.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until April 16th. Last call. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 4/16. Thank you, Mr. Borselli.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yeah, Mike.
Really, Mike.
Night.
All right, next one's been previously continued. Continued request for hearing under notice of intent. First one's been continued. Second one's been previously continued. Request to amend an existing order of conditions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. I haven't even read it yet. So, first up, Jeffrey and Cynthia Andrews, 34 Wigwam Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4852 to install restoration plantings and to reconfigure the location and square footage of various hardscapes and retaining walls. Now, Jen.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Jumped the gun. Yeah, we got a late email from Mark Dibb. He is requesting a continuance till April 16th, and this should be the last one on that day, even though some of the continuances are easy.
Bird
So moved.
Driscoll, second.
All right, we have multiple motions and seconds to continue this until 4/16. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 4/16. Next up is a continued hearing on an enforcement order that's been previously continued. Brings us to vote. Orders of conditions. For the record, Betsy, you're not on any of them.
What does that mean?
Or you can hang out with us, cool people.
I'll hang out with the cool people.
Oh, you're awesome. All right. First up, Weatherly Doris, Quistit Harbor Boatyard, 36 Quistit Harbor Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is just to replace the pilings and reconstruct a portion of the existing licensed and permitted pier.
All
That's
right.
it. I have no conditions. Straight up replacement of a portion of the pier.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the order of conditions as proposed and discussed.
Aye.
Ron?
Yeah. What about all the maritime crap that's stored in the mud beside the on the bank or on the beach, right beside the pier? Is that anything we can do anything about?
We'll ask them to remove it.
I mean, there's a bunch of anchors and mushrooms and chains and everything over there.
Yeah, we'll ask the boatyard to clean it up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion to issue an order of conditions. Do we have a second?
Driscoll second.
Thank you. All right, we're voting to issue an order of conditions. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I,
It is unanimous. With this quorum, we have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Boyce Campson, Acme Falmouth, Mass. LLC, 278 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Jim,
This is the first of two orders you're gonna vote tonight for this property. This one involves all of the dredging. It's maintenance and improvement dredging. I believe the area of improvement dredging is in the southern portion of the property where the fuel dock currently is. They want to improvement dredge that because they are going to be reconfiguring and adding some kind of more additional boat slips in that area. Improvement dredging usually has a higher bar to overcome. This is a commercial harbor. It's really up to the board. In terms of the overall dredging, the improvement dredging is not a large percentage.
yeah. Kind of basic, really, for a commercial harbor.
It's just that area
That
by that
corner.
old fuel dock where they want to reconfigure some of this and just add a few more additional slips.
All right. Any comments or questions? All right, what are you thinking?
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Driscoll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Last call, questions or comments? All right, we're voting to issue an order of conditions. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I,
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up is to vote amended order of conditions. First up, Town of Falmouth, various waterways and beaches, Falmouth, Mass. That's kind of vague.
So this is to amend the town's 10-year comprehensive dredge and beach nourishment plan. We are dredging Green Pond, Great Pond, and I forget the other pond to a slightly deeper depth to try and, especially in the area of Green Pond, so that we can try and not have to dredge those channels every year. Right now, these channels, we're required to dredge them almost every year, and the competition for the dredge combined with the time of year restrictions with the state, it's a shuffle and it's problematic year after year. So the hope is that dredging areas like Great and Green Pond, their approaches to a deeper depth will give the town some breathing room on dredging these inlets every year. Inner Great Pond, we are narrowing that channel. We don't need to have the channel as wide, so we're narrowing that particular channel. And then the other aspect to this project, I think that's all it is, Green Great, is the Megansett approach. The approach to Megansett Harbor, which is 90% in the town of Falmouth, but the approach itself is in the town of Bourne. The dredging has already been approved by the town of Bourne. In this case, our portion of that project is the dewatering of the approach materials, which are beach compatible materials. So the town would like permission to dewater those materials on Megansett Beach. Currently, there is a prohibition on Megansett Beach because Megansett Beach doesn't need any sand. So we'd be amending the permit to allow for the dewatering of beach compatible material only, no silty material. And then the town will truck that material off of Megansett Beach and to be utilized elsewhere in town.
All right.
I
Questions or
think I
comments?
covered everything, right, Alyssa?
And
Yep,
then
I
Mickey
got
answer was the
everything.
biggest point that I recall.
What, Megansett?
Yeah. All right. Questions or comments? Input? All right. What are you thinking?
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Driscoll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Last call. Questions or comments? We're voting to issue an order of conditions. Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll aye.
Steve?
And I,
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Boyce Campson, Acme Falmouth, Mass. LLC, 278 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
So this is the marina. We just voted on the dredging. They want to reconfigure their piers. Staff has no concerns. Usually when the board looks at a marina, we take the footprint of the marina, give them kind of a box to work in, and then they reconfigure their slips and piers and travel lifts and fuel docks. In this case, there is no fuel dock within that footprint. This has been done several times in Falmouth Inner Harbor, as well as Bosun's Boatyard up in
East Falmouth.
East Falmouth. Charles River?
Yeah.
Why am I
Walcoit.
forgetting the name of that water
Walcoit
body?
Landing.
Yeah, Walcoit Landing. Used to be Edwards Boatyard, now it's Bosun's Marine. Yeah. So I have no problem. This is something we frequently do.
All right. Questions or comments? All right. What are you thinking?
I'll make a motion to issue an amended order of conditions as discussed.
Driscoll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Last call. Questions or comments? We're voting to issue an amended order of conditions. Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
Brian, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. And last up, last motion, who wants it?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Driscoll second.
Blackfeld,
Oh,
Blackfelder, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Driscoll aye.
Steve, Patton, aye.
It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.